What's up, guys? It's Saturday. It is game day, and South Carolina LSU will face off in the semifinals of the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament in Greenville, South Carolina. We go behind enemy lines and do a full in-depth preview of the game and say what has to happen, keys to victory, and all those things, and any surprises we may be in store for from Greenville. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler, host of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast, part of the Locked On Sports Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in America. We have you to thank for that. We have FanDuel to thank for today's episode. Now, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn your energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Very excited for today's episode. We have a preview. Not going to have a lot of shelf life. I'll just be honest with you. But anytime these two teams play each other, it's a big deal. And I'm fired up for it. South Carolina versus LSU. Semifinals of the SEC Women's Tournament. South Carolina has 18 straight wins over LSU. And I think we all know what has to happen on this side. You keep doing what you're doing, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's got to be the main mentality of going into this game against LSU. It also has to be, listen, this is going to be a dogfight, and these teams really don't like each other. I have said over and over and over again, this is not a rivalry. South Carolina has beaten the brakes off of LSU over and over and over again. And you saw it happen again on Valentine's Day this year when they went to the PMAC in Baton Rouge and beat them by 7. Again, 18 straight wins. This is not just a fun little streak that's lasted 5 years. It's been over a decade. And this time, I would maintain the argument, and I said this on yesterday's show, they're all big wins. Like anytime you face them, you want to beat LSU, especially now with Kim Mulkey and that part of the rivalry between her and Don Staley. She's loud. She's brash. She is very unlikable if she is not your coach. And I fully understand the hatred from both sides on that part. But here's the thing. If you lose this game, not only are you bounced out of the SEC Women's Tournament, but now you get a little bit of chink in the armor with going into the NCAA tournament. I don't think it impacts your number one overall seed. I think that you have that. The hay is in the barn for that. But if you lose to them, that little seed of doubt that creeps in going into the tournament, that's what you have to avoid. A loss to them, in my opinion, even though it might not matter in the seedings, would have been much better to have happened in February than now. But we're going to talk about all that with two guys that do a great job of covering LSU, Matthew Brune from On 3 and Corey Diaz as well. We're going to start with Matthew Brune, so let's bring him in to the show. All right, we're joined by Matthew Brune from the Bengal Tiger On 3 over there with those guys, Shea Dixon, a lot of good guys over there On 3. I'm going to start here because I don't think you know the right answer, and I'm just going to put you, under fire right away. Yeah. Yesterday, LSU leads by 10 points in the second half, goes on to win by 30 plus. What do you think the reason why they were able to run away that game is? And is it or is it not because I live bet Oklahoma at plus 11.5 on Bovada?
That's definitely why. Definitely why. One of my friends, I think, also took Oklahoma. And I felt bad because I didn't, I guess, make it public enough that I thought LSU was going to just roll the Sooners. Like, I was like, yeah, I didn't think they beat the heck out of them in Norman. I thought this was just a terrible matchup for Oklahoma. But yes, you definitely contributed.
I still have the PTSD, I think, from when Carolina went there and then they shot the lights out in that overtime win. I think that's Carolina's last loss. Mm-hmm. Looking at this game today, obviously it's a huge one. Anytime these two teams play, it's huge. I keep saying that the difference that has me worried from if I'm South Carolina standpoint is two freshmen, and that's Bella Hines and Grace Knox. What do you think a difference maker or difference makers, not just for this game, but specifically in comparison to the last time these two teams met would be?
Yeah, I think Bella is definitely one to watch in terms of that was kind of her breakout game against South Carolina. I say that she only played, I know, in 6 minutes, but 3 or 4, played good defense on Tessa Johnson. Obviously, Tessa was kind of the star for
Yeah.
South Carolina in that game, and Bella did a good job on her. So we'll see how much they go to her again, defensively especially. I think this will be huge for everyone across the board, whether it's Flau'Jae, whether it's Jada, Malaysia, any of them guarding Tessa. But giving up threes has been something that LSU has done, frequently this year in terms of teams potentially getting hot. So, yeah, Tessa's right up there on the scouting report as always. A fantastic shooter. I think Bella will be utilized. I think Grace, to your point, her energy, and I think she matches up with Joyce pretty well. Zakiya is a little small, but I think Grace at the 4 is their best matchup for Joyce. So, yeah, the two you mentioned are pretty sharp in terms of, I think those are the two best defensive matchups for South Carolina's two best scorers.
Yeah, I think I personally, I love watching Grace Knox play. She's going to be the next one that everyone hates. She's so intense. She's so good. She's so physical. I think she is so much fun to watch. I think you're onto some things. I think it'll be interesting to see what she does against Joyce. Like last time, her and Bella had 22 combined minutes in that game, and both of them played over, I think, 23 yesterday against Oklahoma, with Grace having over 30 something. So that matchup, especially because, I mean, last time out, Joyce only had, I believe it was 10 or 11 points and one rebound. I think you brought up the threes. What is the key to stopping South Carolina, like, offensively?
Yeah, last time they played, South Carolina was red hot from 3 in the first half. I think they started 7 of 11 from 3.
Yeah.
And then the second half, they only made 1, but still that first half for South Carolina was so important for making those threes because I thought LSU outplayed them. And you look up at the scoreboard and South Carolina is still up by 1. And it was like, dang, like mentally, if you're LSU, you play well. You think like, all right, we're doing a good job on Joyce. We're doing a good job on Latson. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're losing because Ravens hit 3 threes and you're like, okay, that's a backbreaker. So yeah, I do think the 3-point line is huge. We just saw yesterday LSU go 13 of 24 from 3. It's absolutely massive. And I think between these two teams, two programs that are similar in terms of they've just been bigger than a lot of teams, so you don't have to shoot the 3. Well, when they play each other, it oftentimes is the X factor because, last time they played, LSU goes 2 of 12 from 3. And, there's all those moments where, Michaela isn't able to get the big one to fall. Jada misses. Jada doesn't have a great game at all. And since then, I think we've seen them make a lot more threes, take a lot more. Wiley's been very, very aggressive shooting threes, and she's shooting the ball really well over the past, 3 or 4 weeks. So that's definitely one of the swing things. I mean, heck, Okot for South Carolina has been hitting threes. So
yeah,
it is definitely a swing skill in this game.
There's one player in there in particular you brought up that I think is probably interesting for a lot of people watching this game. And I don't think it's too much of a surprise, but Malaysia going into it was so wild to watch the last time out at the PMAC when she came in and the crowd erupts, everyone's fired up. Because I think even South Carolina fans, not in that game, but they're still pulling for it in every other time she suits up, right? Going into that game, coming into standing ovation, having the turnover like less than a couple seconds later, and then just kind of having an up and down game. She was brilliant yesterday, man. She was awesome. How do you think that she will be able to rein it in a little bit more and be able to play? Like, I don't know if it's because she looks to the other side and sees that jersey and it's kind of like a mental hurdle she's got to get through. But just, I mean, maybe talk a little bit about her growth from even since that game on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the low points of the year. But since then, I think in the 5 games since then, she's scored. I think she's averaged around 21 points, been really efficient, shooting the 3 ball really well, positive assist to turnover, and then doing what she does defensively, which is tremendous. Yeah. I think you can make an argument she's been LSU's best player over the last 5 games. And I think, watching her interviews and seeing her kind of talk about, the game and stuff is just, I think she really believes that she's a different player now. Now, I say that you asked about the turnover. She's going to turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen when she has the ball. But the difference is when she's under control. And I think the biggest thing for Kim Mulkey and her staff has been they figured out to use her as a scorer first, as opposed to someone that can kind of facilitate in a point guard. Like, I know she came to LSU trying to like learn point guard to a degree, but she's been awesome when she's played next to Jada and she's played the 2 and she's been able to just catch the ball and rip and get to the rim. And that's really where she's dangerous. I think LSU is at their best when Flau'Jae leads them in scoring. And that is saying something when you have Michaela and Flau'Jae on the team. But like, oftentimes those two kind of pick their spots. Flau'Jae doesn't pick her spots. She just goes. And that is an absolute difference maker. So I expect her to be aggressive and not aggressive in terms of looking to pass. I think she's just going to look to score. I think she'll look to put up some shots and see how it goes. So, I Flau'Jae, it's been interesting watching her throughout the year because you're always like, is she going to like come around and try to like be a real point guard or anything like that? No, she is going to go. And the last 5-6 games, she's been better for it.
Yeah, she kind of reminds me of is and not this year's version, but she kind of reminds me of last year's Aiden Holloway a little bit because she can shoot the lights out, dude. But she just also the offense and the defense, like the defense is better than I think like sometimes we give her credit for. But yeah, I think the turnovers are going to come, but you'll kind of just take that with if she's putting up 20 points a game, especially off the bench. Last question. Actually, I'm going to give you 2. One, do you want Paul Maneri back? Because we don't want that anymore, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. No, I think LSU fans will pass.
Yeah,
I think they're good.
It's in a better position. It's tough. I can't wait till South Carolina gets Jay Johnson 14 years from now. It's gonna be really great.
It's gonna be like 24 years from now. How old's Paul now?
103, I think. No, I think he's only 67.
I mean, still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my parents are 67. They're retired. I wish he would do
my
the
parents
thing.
are like 65.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk about baseball because it's only going to bring me down emotionally. I do that well enough on my own. Last question, Matt. What is your score prediction for today?
Before the tournament, someone on the radio asked me, how far I thought LSU women would go. And I thought, this was the round where South Carolina would get them. And I'm going to stick by that, even though on paper, and I've continued to say this throughout the season. I said before the season, before conference, I was like, this is dear LSU beats South Carolina because it's in the PMAC. I think talent for talent wise, there is not a big difference between these teams, if at all. I
think LSU is deeper.
LSU is deeper, 1 through 9. But then obviously South Carolina, you just watch them play, and they are so professional in how they do things. They're so obviously well coached, but there's a professionalism in terms of when they get down, in terms of when things don't go their way, that I really, really respect. And so again, toe to toe, like if they play, however many times, 10 times on a neutral site, it might be 5-5, and I think LSU is really good. This game being in South Carolina, it matters. It matters to me. It just does. So just like it mattered when it was at LSU. I thought LSU was going to win that game because it was at LSU to a degree, and I think these teams are very even. So I do think this game being in South Carolina matters. I think the priority for South Carolina, like they go into this really, really wanting to win, I think. And I think Dawn does a good job of prioritizing that. So I lean South Carolina here, again, because it's at home. So I'll go – I do think something like 77-75, another close game. I think it's going to be an awesome game. It usually is between these two, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if LSU won. But, yeah, give me 77-75 South Carolina.
Just don't screw me over on the betting line when I reach out to you later and tell you that I need
What's
some help.
The spread? I don't know what the spread would be.
So this is what pisses me off about the way that they cover that women's basketball is covered. I think I'm going to get on the soapbox for a second because I think this is the last thing that needs to be caught up because this sport is awesome. It's grown so much. It's been really great in terms of the coverage of it from ESPN and all that kind of stuff. From a betting standpoint, they don't release any of the betting lines until after tip off. So I'm not sure what the line is today. I know the last time they met, it was like 7.5. So we'll see. And also, I just want to let you know, man, from all of us over here in Columbia, even though you and I are like several miles apart over here in Baton Rouge, but everyone on this side with South Carolina, if they do win a 19th straight game, sportsmanship aside, it is still very much deserved because of that horrible call against Nicky Benwari and in the 2024 football game. Just so you know, we're not over it. I'm not over it.
Yeah, because he took a cheap shot at Garrett Nussmeier.
Okay, we're not going to do it. It wasn't Nick. It wasn't even Worry that did it. We're not doing this right now. Dude, I appreciate you coming on so much, man. I'm sure I'll see you around over here in Baton Rouge at some point, but tell everyone where they can find you so they can yell at you later if
no, I'm not giving out any socials here. I'm just kidding. I just picked South Carolina to win, so I should. It's the LSU people I should be worried about. Yeah, Matthew _ Brune or Matthew Brune _ geez, I haven't given out my Twitter handle in a long time. Matthew Brune _ So
I knew it was Brune, and I said Brune to start. I should have asked before we started this show.
You should have, but you're not a professional. So.
Not at all, but I think that's the part of the charm. There's not a single name I pronounced right on this entire show for 2 years. Matthew Brune, you're the man, dude. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Chris.
All right. Shout out to Matthew for coming on the show. Guys, I swear to God, you know what? How about one of these days? Maybe we'll just start now. Maybe like moving forward, we're going to start a tip jar or a swear jar, but the jar is going to be for me mispronouncing names. I'm dead serious. I'm going to put $1 in the jar every time I pronounce a name wrong. I want you to call me out in the comments when it happens. And if it does, then we're going to put all this into a jar. And at some point during the season or at the end of the season for football season, whatever, we're going to give away that money to a fan. That's what we're going to do at this point. So I can get better at just being professional. I knew it was Brune. God, that was stupid. Anyway, great stuff from Matthew Brune over there at On3. Very fired up for our next guest as well. Corey Diaz is in Greenville right now. And we're going to bring him on and start talking a little bit more about this game. All right, one of my favorite people here over in Baton Rouge area does a tremendous job of covering all things, not just LSU, but especially women's basketball and LSU women's basketball. And also has great hair. That's just, I feel like that's something I have to mention every time I see you. So, dude, Corey, welcome in for one. Two, are you in Greenville right now?
I am. I'm sitting outside our Airbnb, just taking in a lot of the sights and sounds. Very wilderness area that we're staying in right now. But yeah, just obviously working on some stuff before the game today.
Yeah.
Really excited. Anytime South Carolina and LSU play, it's a fun time, but it always seems to get a little rowdy up here in Greenville. So it'll be good.
Like no one I feel like has a better understanding of both these teams than you and both these programs than you. Just right out of the gates, man. I feel like because we had Matthew Brune on earlier and talked to him a little bit and went over some stuff. You're obviously boots on the ground over there in Greenville. What's the biggest difference as to what last game on February 14th and how that game played out versus how you think today could play out?
Yeah, look, I think, and I think both Dawn and Kim would say this. Both teams are different. I know it's only been just a shade over a month since they've played, but you're talking, probably 7 to 8 games that both teams have played since the last time they met, and they're different. I think for South Carolina, the thing that stuck out to me yesterday watching them play Kentucky was, I think Taniyah Latson was far more aggressive in getting to the rim than I thought she was in Baton Rouge the last time they played. And obviously, the biggest development with South Carolina is the 3-point shot from Medina Okot.
Yeah,
I think she's been very consistent with that over the last 2.5 weeks or so. It's become a part of not only her game, but it's become a part of South Carolina's offensive arsenal.
Yeah.
And she's not afraid to shoot it, and they're not afraid to give it to her in her spot that she likes. They're at the top of the key. So that's something that I feel like those are two things that I feel like is really different with South Carolina right now. Obviously, we could talk about Raven Johnson. I think she's having I told somebody yesterday, I said, if UConn wasn't undefeated, I think Raven Johnson possibly could be National Player of the Year. I think she's having that good of a year.
Wow.
Yeah, because her scoring's up, her assists are up, her rebounds are up. The way she affects her team in all facets, like she was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year,
right?
And so the effect that she's having for South Carolina on both ends of the floor, I think it can't be overstated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for LSU, look, yesterday, obviously they matched up with, Reagan Beers inside with Oklahoma. And I have to really tip my cap to the defensive performance from Kate Caval. She was a wall down there, and obviously they got Reagan, in foul trouble early in the game. So she didn't play much in the first half, but a lot of that was due to, Kate sort of standing her ground because Reagan really likes to, her MO is she wants to back you down as close to the basket as possible. They pass the ball into her and she's never going to miss that shot.
Right.
She's probably 100% shooting that, that little, turnaround layup. So you have to give it to her. And look, Mylasia Flau'Jae is hitting threes now. That was not something that she was doing earlier in the season. Flau'Jae Johnson I know she scored 21 yesterday against Oklahoma, but I almost feel like, she's coming into this with the mindset of rebounding the ball more, assisting the ball more. She knows she's going to draw attention from defenses. So, maybe that does allow Mylasia to get, open more often, or Michaela more often. And I think what we're going to see too, Chris, is I think we're going to see Michaela play some 4 today.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that was something that we saw, Kim try to do a whole lot, in the first matchup with South Carolina in January or in February. So, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of things different with both of these teams. And I think that's why it's such a fascinating matchup.
I'll tell you what, I think I didn't think Oklahoma was going to come back and win. I thought they were going to keep it somewhat close yesterday. But the moment that Reagan Beers stepped outside and took that corner 3, I was like, oh, this is over. Like this is, and then airballed it. But it was like, you just kind of felt like, I was like, oh man, if they're not able to get what they usually want to get from her inside, that affects every other part of it with, having anyone open from outside as well. LSU shooting the ball way better, I feel like, from outside. My dog's over here. He wants to tell you, hey. I think the other fascinating part of this too is Vandy goes in last night and gets smoked by Ole Miss. And so now you have a potential to where if LSU wins this game, they might end up being a 1 seed. What are your thoughts on that? Because listen, UCLA, they might have 6 people drafted off that squad. UConn's undefeated. It feels like South Carolina has secured a number 1 overall seed no matter what. But a win from LSU and then in getting to the SEC championship, do they need to win out to get a 1 seed, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've been asked this a lot since.
Mine was the best one though.
Yeah, the way you phrased it and everything was chef's kiss. I personally, I don't think if LSU wins the tournament championship, I don't think they can get on the 1 seed,
okay,
1 seed line. And the reason why I say that is because they have, in terms of the top 7 teams in the net rankings, LSU has the least amount of quad 1 wins. Now, obviously, they would have, 2 more to add to that, right? But even still, they wouldn't catch what Texas has, in terms of Q1 victories on the season.
Yeah,
and that to me, like, this is one of those years where I know Kim gets peppered with the, you scheduled 13 cupcakes and, the non-conference schedule, you're hurting yourself. And obviously we've seen in the years past, like it didn't really matter. But I think if she cared about a 1 seed, this would be that year where if they did go on, if they upset South Carolina today, beat Texas or Ole Miss in the SEC tournament championship tomorrow, they win a conference championship for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
It's the strength of schedule it's wildly different. Now I know you'd have the 2-1, if you played Texas in the conference tournament championship, you'd have that 2-1 head to head over Texas. But I just don't dude, if you go look at Texas's non-conference schedule, it's crazy.
Yeah,
they've played UCLA and they played South Carolina in the non-conference,
which
schedule.
Made no sense to me, but yeah,
so they played I think it was 6 ranked teams, in between November and the end of December, and LSU didn't. They played 1, and it was Duke, and they went on the road. They went on the road to Durham, and they beat the brakes off of Duke, but Duke was bad at the time. And credit to Carl Lawson, and they certainly turned that thing around, and that certainly has helped LSU schedule now. But I don't know. It would be fascinating to see what the committee would do, because you're looking at a team that has a top 10 strength of schedule, and LSU's like in the 40s.
Right. Well, it's similar. It's wild to watch this tournament because it's very similar to last year's men's tournament. It's like it's not top. This year feels a little bit like, I don't say it's top heavy, because the top 4 seeds are all ranked in the top 6 nationally, which is insane. But then you look at like Bama is like an 11 seed, and they're ranked top 25 in the country. So and they got smoked by Texas. All right, let's close on this, brother. I appreciate you joining us. Wi-Fi is great at the Airbnb, by the way, so make sure you leave a great review for them. Give me a prediction on today's game.
There's a world where South Carolina wins this game by 25 points.
Oh God. Okay.
Yes, I'm not saying that's my official prediction. I'm just saying there is a world where South Carolina blows LSU out today.
Okay.
Again, and the reason why is because, and I, shameless plug here, if you go over to theadvertiser.com,
do it.
My predictions file for today is up and live. You can go check that out. For me, the key matchup in this game today is how LSU on the defensive end handles South Carolina's backdoor cuts to the rim, and how they handle, whether it's Nia Latson or Raven or Tessa or whomever it is, right? Trying to get to the rim. It's about rim. I think it's about lane and rim protection for LSU on the defensive end of the floor today, because when Medina steps out, that's why South Carolina wants to do that. They want to stretch you defensively. Right. They're basically forcing you to make some decisions. And will LSU make the right decisions, on defense? I think that's going to be the key to this game, and I'm going to say South Carolina probably by like a dozen points today. Okay. That to me feels like the safer prediction, but I would not be shocked if they win by 20 plus.
You're the man. I appreciate it, man. Let everyone know where they can find you. And can't say thank you enough for taking time out and coming on.
Yeah, sure.
Find you on social media. I don't mean like in life. That was aggressive.
I give you the address of the Airbnb right now. No, it's look, the socials is by Corey Diaz over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. It's over on Instagram as well. Appreciate you having me on, Chris. It's always a good time catching up with you, man. And let's do it again soon.
You have to make me a deal. If South Carolina wins by over 20, you have to follow me back on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I should have opened this show with like, hey man, we need your A game today because a follow back is on the line here.
That's right. That's right. No, man, I appreciate it. Have a safe trip over there in Greenville, all that kind of stuff, and we'll get at you soon.
Yeah, man, appreciate you.
All right, appreciate both those guys coming on here. Let's close with this. I'm gonna give you my prediction. Pepper, do you want to come up here and give a prediction to the game? Come here. So here's the thing. We're all over the gamut here of like, I mean, Brune's saying they're going to win by 2. Cory's saying they could win by 25 or around 12. Here's my firm belief in this game. I think this LSU team is built to compete and beat South Carolina. I thought that in February though, and they were at home in front of a massive sold out crowd in one of the most hostile environments you're going to go to at any point this year, probably the most, right? And you beat them by 7. And I thought the way Brune explained that and kind of revisited that was pretty like accurate, which was like, they kept hitting threes and they kept scoring, and it's like, and you kept looking at the scoreboard and they were down by 1. I think this LSU team is built to beat South Carolina or compete with them, but they haven't. And none of them have. None of these teams have under Kim Mulkey or in their last 18 tries. And so what I think is ultimately going to happen is I wouldn't be surprised if LSU opens up really hot. They play very inspired defense. I do think Grace Knox and Bella Hines have a very, very big part of this game, especially Grace Knox down low. I think she's the kind of player that'll get under people's skin, all that kind of stuff. I think you're going to have a very, very close back and forth from the start. I would not be surprised to see LSU on top at halftime. But this South Carolina team isn't built for 20-minute stretches, right? They are They are built to win championships. The coaching staff in place, obviously everything with Dawn, even without Chloe Kitts, they have been spectacular this year. I just trust with every single, even if Joyce doesn't have a great game, Tessa, Raven, Tania, and again, Okot hitting threes now. It just makes them so much more dangerous. So I think it's great. You can sit here and say LSU has a deeper bench, maybe, and 1 through 9, as Bruni put it, I think is you could probably give them the nod. But the starting 5 and the 5 on the floor have consistently put up more points than not just LSU, but everyone else that they have played this year for most of the season. So I think when you get late in this game and it's gut check time, and you're I hate to use all the sports cliches, but it's gut check time, and you're trying to figure out a way, how do I go win this ball game? If LSU starts missing shots, or they start falling behind, and you start seeing that lead dwindle away, or it goes in favor of South Carolina and it goes from 2 to 5 to 7, that seed of doubt and that, oh, here we go again type of feeling is going to set in. And I think South Carolina, listen, until proven otherwise, you have to go with the team that's won 18 straight games. So I will take South Carolina. I think it's closer than what Corey said, even though Corey knows way more about basketball than I do. I'll say it's within 10. I'll something probably similar to what we saw last time. And I'll say 77 to 72. So that is all for our preview show. I appreciate you guys. I know this isn't going to get a ton of run, but make sure you go check it out. We'll be back afterwards for a live reaction as well. Until then, be safe, be good to each other. Go Cox.